Been listed as one of the top 100 psychics in America. Empowerment psychic Halley Elise shares the spiritual, metaphysical, holistic, and magical powers of the universe. Follow Halley on her website at HalleyElise.com, and all her shows can be seen via live stream video. Now, here's your host, Empowerment psychic Halley Elise.
Hello and welcome once again to the Halley Elise Show, as you heard on the air there. I'm happy that this evening I have my friend and special guest, Shaman Hawk, joining us. You'll learn a bit about shamanism as well as the Shamanic Lodge, which has just begun, and it's reminiscent of something that I was involved with Shaman Hawk many years ago. I think that about covers it, right? For each half a decade. Anyways, we'll let him share a little bit about what was and what's going to be and exactly what a shaman is. So without further ado, say hello to everyone.
Hey everybody. As a reminder, shamanism is basically humanity's first spiritual quest and journey. The shaman was the first person that okay, let me try that again, get closer to the mic and all that. Shamanism is humanity's first journey. Spiritual quest, the first shamans were the people back in the Neolithic period that questioned things, you know, if they had a dream and it came true, or somebody had a vision about a hunt, things like that. They kind of wondered why. What happens when you die? Why are they born? What's the questions of life?
So should we start with those? No, I'm kidding.
Right. Let's solve world peace.
That's it.
And then it evolved because shamanism likes to be the spearhead of spiritual evolution. You know, it evolved from basically the ceremonies and somewhat superstitions and myths, and it adventures into quantum physics and chemistry, because we really believe that you can explain metaphysical theories on the physical plane and
Absolutely.
check them with logic.
Well, we're finding, too, that science nowadays is proving all sorts of, heebie-jeebie 101 things. String theory proves about the soul and evolution and development. And, you start looking at quantum physics, or even just typical scientists, they no longer say, I don't believe in that. It's more like, I got to investigate. I need to know more. And it seems like every other day you're hearing about some sort of scientific discovery that supports spiritualism or metaphysics or the paranormal. So you're right up there with the good guys.
Yay! I guess that once you have an instrument that proves your theory on a dial, now you're validated. Now you're real. That's good to know.
It's pretty funny, though, the whole blind study thing, because when someone is ill and you have 30 people who have gotten better because they tried non-traditional things, the doctors will tell you, it's not true. It doesn't work. It just happened that time because there's no, double-blind study. So I find it really funny that eventually everything comes full circle. But are you going to live and survive in between is the question.
Or you can just put it as qualitative data, that's your controlled experiments, double-blind studies, or quantitative data. Hey, look, we tried this 100 times, and 90 times it worked. Pure coincidence, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Anyways, we could probably spend the entire time just on that. Actually, no, we can. But I want to share with everyone about the little ranchette and the little endeavor many years ago that we were both involved with, and how over the years it's evolved into something very different, and the new endeavor, which is the Shamanic Lodge. So take it away.
Well, back in, what was that, 96, 97? We had...
I think 96.
Back a 4-acre piece out in Sunshine Ranches out in Davie, Florida. The biggest mosquitoes in the United States. But we were doing lots of sweat lodges, organic gardens, healing circles, and things like that. And the owner then wanted to open a facility to where we would entertain and provide space and sanctuary for different types of belief systems and studies and things like that. And we were there 18 months, and it was great.
Absolutely.
And, everything comes to an end, but we put out some good people, did some awesome healings there that people still talk about. And after that, I went on different journeys around the United States and then different countries, came back to Davie, Florida, and we opened up recently Shamanic Lodge. Got into a house around Christmas. We've been doing organic gardens. We had our first gathering this past Sunday, the 25th. We're working with Massage Eden Spa with another shaman, Martha Hernandez, Reiki master, martial artist, and so on. And we're opening that up to other people's venues, I guess you could call it, schools, keeping the space open, stuff like that.
So other people can come out and share their mastery as well?
Oh, yeah, we're open to that.
So it's similar to what was years back? Or are there limitations? I don't mean to be facetious, but I know before
absolutely.
It was kind of, if you have something, come on in.
Well, the other thing about the Sunshine Ranches place, remember, we were on 4 acres.
Sure.
We had a 2,500 square foot house.
And the kids were all up in those darn trees.
And we had a pool for kids to babysit themselves with. Yeah. But no, we're a little bit smaller, a little bit more concentrated, a tighter timeline, so we're going to be scaled down a little bit. But in that, I'm also expecting some of the people from the old days to come back.
Good. With
some of their learned or accumulated knowledge and experiences to share. So Shamanic Lodge is basically a sanctuary for the shamanic or spiritual metaphysical teachers, and so to come in, to rest, to reconnect with the old gang, and then venture off and do what we do.
Okay, so when you talk about having the teachers come in, does that mean that they specifically have to bring in students, or if somebody has an interest, can they just get in touch and say, hey, I heard this is what you're doing, want to know more about organic gardening, or I want to know more about sweat lodges, can they just come out? How does that work?
Well, they would have to go ahead and contact us. You can do that through blueplanetshaman@yahoo.com and give me an email to tell me what you're really looking for, because as you can remember, back in the other, the logistical
nightmare.
I was trying to go for another word.
Challenge. We'll go with challenge.
Work. Yeah, just the logistics alone, the timing,
Right, because you don't want to have several different groups coming at it one time where they're trying to all occupy the same space doing different things. And I think perhaps people have to realize, too, there is a level of respect when you come to the property. It's not just, hi, I'm here for a program, but it's almost like walking into a dojo or into a sacred temple, in the sense when you walk through, you take a moment, you get in touch with what's there before you move forward. And if you're going for a specific group or you're going to go in the garden, that needs to be known beforehand, yes?
Yes, absolutely, because you are going into someone else's personal space.
Right.
Someone else's sacred space. So there is protocol to be followed.
Okay, and when somebody emails and says, hey, listen, I heard about this, I'm interested, I want to learn all these things, and I'm really excited, and here's my email. What is it that you tell them exactly?
I don't tell them so much as I start beginning asking questions about, well, thank you for corresponding, but basically, what are you looking to learn? What's your background? What's your knowledge? How can we help you specifically? Do you have a plan? Are you involved in a series of studies? And so on.
What about the one who's a complete novice? They've heard about shamanism, they've seen movies, they have friends that have studied sacred arts, or perhaps they had an uncle that did martial arts and they thought it was really cool, and they want to know more. Would you allow that type of person to come in?
Absolutely, and actually they're some of the best people to work with because it's a clean slate. All right, you're not having to change somebody else's mistakes. You and I have been doing this forever.
Okay, a day.
Okay, we have a system down, all right? But when the novice comes in, or the person is looking for something new, or sometimes they just feel that void and they want that void filled, all right, we do a screening process. And the screening process takes a couple hours. So it can go anything from past life regressions to just basic talk. Tell me about your life, tell me about your journeys and things like that. Let me get a little bit of feel for who you are and where you think you want to go, where you have been, and so on. We have some shamanic exercises where we have someone start to make their own divination set, which is basically like their own tarot card sets or the runes and things. You've seen that. And
some of that.
Yeah, and that's just an amazing roadmap back into the person's soul and spiritual journey. Something that they're not really aware of. And we give them a reading. There can be some energy work on them. We scan the body as far as injuries and traumas, because different emotions live in different parts of the bodies.
Right.
So as you know, it's a complex process. It doesn't just happen in a quick phone call.
No, but the reason I ask is because a lot of people think, well, this is cool. It's like a new center. I can just go out there and I can be a part of it, and I'm going to get like Reiki. And there's nothing wrong with that. But this is a little bit different. As you say, there's kind of the precursor, the qualification. And somebody coming out for that process, is there a fee for them to be evaluated, for them to be checked? Is there a donation? How does this work?
Again, that becomes specifically what they're looking for. If they came in for a Reiki treatment or doing the massage or the reading, there's different prices for each activity. There's nothing, we can't do a blanket price over it because everyone, as you know, is so different.
Right. So what if someone asks, how do you determine what is it that an individual needs? You're making the determination based on the questions you've asked them through the pre-screening in the email, and then when they come out, you then, we'll say, do an energy scan to get a better understanding? Or do you make a determination beforehand?
Well, we get a little bit of a rough draft before they come out, but the conversation itself, the body language, and as you know, people will tell you what they think's wrong with them, or what they want fixed by what they say directly, but we also listen to what they're not saying.
Peeling the onion.
Body language tells a lot, and of course they try and hide things, and
So what you're saying is you're a therapist.
I can't legally say that. No.
I know that. That's true. But by the same token, shamans throughout history have been known to be healers. They have been known as many different things, but without, again, legally getting in trouble, you can say that you share information that is of value that the person can make an educated decision about if they will accept it or not.
Yeah, and we are also confidants.
Yes.
We keep other people's secrets. So when people come to us, what they say is with us, and that's that. Sometimes that's therapy in itself.
I think back to years ago when we had the kids running around and people coming out at all hours and madness and digging fruit and veggies from the garden and having a great time. It was interesting how many people came through who really needed massive healing. Thinking about one girl in particular, I'm not going to mention her name, tall, thin girl, dark hair. She now has a few kids up north. I think you may know who I mean. But she was, we'll say, out of sorts and yet very gifted. And through working with her over time, she was able to get beyond a lot of her own insecurities. Actually, you met her the first time when we were doing a class, and we were actually doing a past life regression over at my place.
Was this young lady a performer?
Yes. Okay, so you remember who. Okay, so you think back to that time frame and then look at now. She has gone such a long way because she learned so much from those experiences back then, attending the sweat lodges, getting involved with Martina, who's a dear friend of ours, who's an amazing shaman in her own right.
She is.
So, people coming out need to know, I guess, that there is a lot to be expected, and yet what you expect may not be what you get. You actually get what you need.
You get what you need.
Yes.
In the healing thing, too, there was that one woman that came out, and we had that one sweat lodge with her. The one that was terminally ill.
Yes, I remember.
We won't get into that long story, but...
the gist is she was in the lodge, and there was a whole fear about should she get in there, and, is it going to complicate things? And in actuality, if I remember correctly, she went to the doctor and said, I don't know how you did it, but it's gone.
A month later, she went from, The Walking Dead,
right,
to the picture of health that could have been on the front of any fitness magazine. I didn't recognize her.
Amazing. Just amazing. We have to take a quick break. We will be right back with Shaman Hawk on the Halley Elise Show. Thank you.
Times are tough, and right now those in the commercial world know that being heard via advertisements is the name of the game. AmpSquare.tv understands how important advertisement is and is proud to express that it's truly the only plugged-in internet television production company on the market. Amp2.tv live streams all their shows across all the major selling markets in the U.S. and abroad. Call them at 866-224-5424 5422. The AmpSquare.tv library allows productions to be seen over and over again, making commercial platforms more usable. Call 866-224-5422. Toll free 866-224-5422. AMP2.tv, the first and only internet television network that's truly plugged in. 866-224-5422. That's AMP2.TV. You're listening to Empowerment Psychic Halley Elise, and she invites you to visit her website for more information about all that she does at HalleyElise.com. Now, back to your host, Empowerment Psychic Halley Elise.
Welcome back to the Halley Elise Show, and I have Shaman Hawk with me this evening. If you are just tuning in, you'll find out that we're talking about the new Shamanic Lodge and amazing things that are taking place as far as, metaphysically and holistically over at the lodge. Yes?
It is.
Okay. So, because you are so diverse, and you mentioned earlier you've been around the world, you've gone to different places, you've built energy domes, and you've done sacred ceremony on the tops of mountains, and gone literally from beaches to deserts to oceans. And I was thinking the other day about the story with you and your buddy on the ship, and the fact that it was almost like the perfect storm, and I'm surprised that the two of you survived. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that would take way too long to go into. But I was just thinking in terms of, wow, there's really been so many different adventures over the years. And I think one of your newer ones has to do with making shell necklaces. And for people hearing this, they might think, well, what, he sits on the beach and he threads necklaces together? Well, kind of, sort of, yes. So you want to share about that and how that actually came about?
It came about because back 25 years ago, we used to have our energy center, and all of us would meet on the beach right around Los Olas Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale. And we noticed the energy center was steadily shifting south. All right, well, in following it along, it ended up in the Hollover Beach area.
Which you really had a problem with.
Yeah, I have a problem with nude beaches. But anyway.
That's another story.
So, and it had changed a little bit. It got a little weird down there. But because of the energetics, and as you know, one person, two people can be that real spark that lights, or illuminates a different evolution, spiritually, personally, whatever. We figured, okay, let's just change this.
Well, let's clarify that a little bit for people who are like, wait, I didn't quite get that. I think people have to understand that their own personal energy can imbue a space with an energy, and as a collective, similar in terms of prayer or any collective group that has a specific goal, that energy can actually be put into a space. And if there's a center already there, a vortex or an activity of energy, it can be enhanced.
Oh, and people just don't give their own energies, desires, and things like that enough credit. They really underestimate themselves. So in shamanism, we follow the pictures. I got the picture of making these necklaces, so I would make these necklaces, and I would swim in them. They're out of scallop shells. You'll see pictures of them. I'm going to put them up after this on Shamanic Lodge on the Facebook. But so I would swim with it, and one woman was just like, I love these necklaces, and I'm like, well, here, have it.
Right.
And I gave it to her, and then I made another one. And when we were talking to different people, like every beach, it's got its little cliques. Mm-hmm. But we would just be talking to people, and like, oh, this is a very health conscious, spiritually person of different cliques. I'm like, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a necklace to everybody we meet that has that kind of a vibe.
Okay.
And then I came to the thing that I'm going to swim at least a mile in them before I give them away.
So you were actually taking the energy from the ocean and the life in the ocean, as well as your own energy, and if you will, implanting that energy into the shells, into the necklace.
That goes into one of the classes we do on programming.
I know.
Right.
But I figure for those listening in, they're like,
Well, you figure we're long-distance swimmers, so we swim at least a mile in the ocean every time we go. So that's 1,760 yards. Well, some days it's like Lake Atlantic. Some days the waves are 4 and 5 feet. But it's a meditation of rhythm, and you have to really synchronize your breathing, your stroke, yourself with the wave,
right.
And then once you've made your rhythm, you just tune out. It's a great meditation. Well, that energy goes into that necklace.
Okay, and how does that help somebody when you give them that necklace?
Well, it's funny that sometimes I'll make one of the very delicate shells, thinner ones, a tight one that fits tightly around my neck. It's hard to swim in.
Right.
And then I meet the person. They're very dainty. They very, very easygoing, you know. And then I'll make one that has thicker shells. And in the time that I'm swimming, the waves are hard, the rip tides are strong, and we get pulled out, loads of jellyfish and man o' wars. And then I meet this person that's just like, you look at them, you listen to their life story, like, whoa.
And you know it belongs to them,
you.
right? Okay, while I have you here in captive audience, I want to know about the shark, because, you know, you touched on that and you left me hanging and I haven't been around, so I need to hear about the shark. What's the story?
Oh, well,
we're whispering to sharks now. You know, horses
I
I'm
know,
cool with, dogs I'm cool with. I don't dislike sharks, but I don't know, I want to be hanging out with them every day.
Yeah, down there I'm known as a shark whisperer, but I don't want to credit that, you know. What I had a dream that I was swimming with this shark. It was really harmless. It was just kind of a dream, like, oh, okay. And I dismissed it. 3 days later, we were hanging out at the beach, and this guy had this blue tip or a black tip shark about 5-6 feet, just kind of circling him around. You know, he's probably a stone's throw off the beach.
Right.
You know, and I'm like, you know, I should just go out and tell him, because the lifeguards, that's not their job. They can't leave their post. They're not supposed to be doing, but they were whistling,
Trying to get the
his
guy's attention,
But
right.
when you're swimming, he was doing a good stroke. He can't hear anything.
Right.
So I swam out and said, hey, you got a black tip shark. It's big. We should go in the shore. He's interested in you. And then when I got back, people were like, are you crazy? No, because then I remembered the dream. The dream was I had nothing to be worried about.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to, because of that, I'm not going to go out and play tag with sharks.
No.
You know, but
But you kind of knew with confidence that there really was no issue. It was more important to get that guy's attention and bring him back in.
mm-hmm.
But you mentioned pictures so that people understand better. For you, if you will, your intuition is not only just knowing, but it really is actual pictures and, if you will, visions or dreams that pop in. How often does that happen?
Too much. I mean, this is one of those things that happens, as you know, with the more in tune you get, or the more you get centered in your truth, the true being that you are, the more these things will become everyday occurrences. You know, the phone rings, you know who it is, or
Right.
you think about someone and then they call. It's that energetic equation that we're all part of. But I get it all the time.
So do you plan on doing tea ceremonies over at the new place?
No, we touched on that at the last meeting. It's just that people get a little disturbed when they can,
When other people can see what they're doing when they're not there?
not just that, yeah. You know, everything's public knowledge, right? But some people get disturbed when they can increase their psychic abilities very, very quick. It becomes very unnerving to them, and then they're like, okay, I didn't believe this, and now it's happening to me.
Well, see, that's why they start with you, and then you send them over to me for that gentle touch. And I kind of say, it's okay, baby, it's okay.
Go see mommy.
That's why we've done classes together. You know, you get that yin and yang going on. But if people are wondering, there are lots of different ways that you can enhance your intuitive ability. Hawk and I have very different methodologies, and yet they seem to blend on occasion. But at the Lodge, you're going to be working with, as we mentioned, lots of different types of things. I want to make sure that everybody knows the email, so if they have questions and they want to know, well, what other classes, or, you know, what sort of healers or teachers are taking place, you can give them that information. So it's blueplanetshaman@yahoo.com. Okay, so you can email Hawk and say, hey, I heard you and I want to know what's going on, and he'll give you information. But if you just send a note, by the way, that says, hey, what's happening, you're not going to get a note back. I'm just letting you know. I know how he is. You actually have to be articulate and form a question. And the reason I say that is I got an email the other day that said, hey, did you read my email? I'm like, what email? Who are you? You know, what is this about? So that stuff seems to happen all the time, and more with technology.
You, by the way, let's also ask them to put like Shamanic Lodge in the subject line.
It's a good
You
idea.
know, so we don't know it's heebie-jeebie spam.
All right, so once again, Shamanic Lodge in the subject line. If you can't spell shamanic, just put lodge.
That'll work.
That'll work. Okay. And ask questions. You know, ask about what sort of programs are there, what sort of teachers are there, what sort of background. I think we don't have a lot of time, but we have a few moments. Because we were talking earlier about how been around for forever, and we know that, but some people listening in are probably going, who's this guy? Everybody, knows everything today. Everybody pops up, and they have it behind them, and they all have it down. Give them a little background as far as how you were raised and your experiences.
Well, both sides of my family are mixed between Native American, Celtic, and like all Americans, we're a mix of everybody. I started off in traditional training back in around '64, and did all the protocol. Did all the basics of the energetics, the training, all that. But in the true aspects of classical shamanism, we escape the mythologies and we head forward. I have a 30-year history down here. I think we met about 30 years ago.
Something like that.
And I'm probably one of the very few people that New Age books and things recommends for banishing negative energies, bad spirits, clearing homes, people, exorcisms, and stuff like that. They've known me a long time, as they've known you.
They've been there for forever. I mean, they're one of the places that still has a stronghold here.
They anchored and pioneered the metaphysical movement in South Florida.
We'll give them a little ditty. For people who are wondering, New Age books and things are right off of Commercial and Federal Highway in Fort Lauderdale.
Just south of Commercial.
Just south of Commercial. So,
west side of the road. Yep.
It's a little gem. You go in, there are herbs and there are essential oils and candles and people that are actually learned and know what it is that they're doing. So it's great. Okay. But like you said, they've recommended you, they've been there, and it's interesting too, even though there's been a change of hands several times, they've kept with that same energy, that same alignment.
No, they've been a spiritual hub for almost 30 years.
Right. Okay, so when you say that you had traditional training and it started in '64, you were about 3-4 years old then?
No, 6.
6. Okay, still 6. Really think about that. 6 years old, starting with shamanic training. That's pretty amazing. And you're now 50-something years old?
I'm 56.
So you've been doing this for 50 years. And I just wanted to share so that people know you're dealing with someone who actually has been living this their entire life.
Well, and our children, yours and mine, grew up in this stuff. So
Should we tell a quick little story about Elizabeth and Selena?
Sure.
Okay, got like a quick second here. Our daughters grew up to become paramedics, and I get a phone call from my daughter who says, "You won't believe what happened today. I'm talking with this person, and I'm sharing things that make no sense whatsoever, and I don't understand why I'm sharing personal information, and really, interesting things, Mom." She says, and then the person says what their name is. And we used to go, call Lizzie, Liz. We didn't do Elizabeth. She was a baby then. So she said her name was Elizabeth, and Selena's like, "Elizabeth, is your dad Hawk by any chance?" And she's like, "Is your mom Halley?" And that was it. So here they were at separate ends of the world, so to speak, and they ended up becoming together. Mm-hmm. Thanks so much for being on, Hawk.
Oh,
love
my pleasure.
it.
Good to see you again.
Same here. Anybody interested, remember, you can contact Shaman Hawk at blueplanetshaman@yahoo.com. And I thank you for tuning in to the Halley Elise Show. We'll see you next week. Good night.
Be enchanted and delighted. Connect each week here on WNN for the Halley Elise Show. Also on Facebook and at HalleyElise.com. Thanks for tuning in.